What's that been like, seeing him, kind of ascend through the ranks like he has?
Yeah, well, first, happy for him. That's one thing. I think these guys that get opportunities to move on, and you go from a position coach to hopefully a coordinator, get an opportunity to be a head coach. So I'm excited for him. I think all these guys should be head coaches and get their shot to go in there and run their program and do it the way he wants to do it. I did have a chance to talk to him, and we've always had history together in the time at Arkansas State, the time he was here. So now he gets his opportunity, and I think a really good place. I think that place is in a good position right now. I don't know all the guys coming back, but historically they've done really well. And his opportunity to be there and put a staff together and go put his stamp on a program, I'm excited for him to see what he's able to do. And he's certainly done a really good job. He did a good job for us, did a good job at NC State, and is in that position now. So I know he's scrambling, trying to figure it out, get his staff together, and he gets his opportunity now to go through it, which I think he understands.
Speaking of your staff, obviously,
sure.
Chad left. What is the plan now, for his position?
Yeah, well, still working through that. Use David Moa right now. I guess use him as his experience at this point. Well, the defensive staff, they've got it set up, and Coach Avalos, he's done that before. Kyrie Marshall, we have guys on staff that can do that. Fortunately, we have some guys in that room on the D-line that have played a little bit, and they can help manage that transition as Spencer Danielson, Coach Avalos, some of the other coaches help out, and we're all kind of helping in that area to make sure these guys, we stay focused, we get prepared. We're obviously playing a really good team that runs the ball effectively, so the D-line is going to be very important to our success. And then we're working on his replacement, and there's a few guys that we're going to talk to. I don't know how that's all going to work out, the time frame with the bowl game and things like that. And usually this time of year is a little bit tough because guys are playing in bowl games. There's recruiting. There's a lot of things going on. So we've got to just manage with what we have right now, and our guys have to do a really good job of being mature and getting ourselves ready to play, and then we'll work on that. Most likely have that solidified after the bowl game is over and into when everybody gets back the 13th of January, hopefully by then.
I know you never know how long coach is going to be here or whatever, but now you'll have, 3 D-line coaches in 3 years here for this group. What are your thoughts just from that standpoint?
Well, I'll go hire another coach. I could probably ask the D-line guys what do they think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I went through as a player. I've told our guys this too. I went through, we had 4 head coaches here, Pokey and Tom Mason coming in, Houston Nutt, and then Dirk Cutter. And so as a player, and each coach brought something different, and you learn from it. You've got to learn something a little bit different with each D-line coach. Steve was obviously here for a while, did a great job. Chad came in, helped us improve, and we got better because of him. And so whoever we bring in, that'll be something different. It'll still be within the framework of what we do, though. It's not like every guy that comes in changes everything that we do. They bring their experience, they bring some of the things they've learned, which helps us get better, but we still do what we do. And I think our guys understand that. So disappointed, anytime somebody leaves, and not so much we're disappointed. We're excited for Chad. He's got a really good opportunity, and we appreciate what Chad did here. But I think our guys are also excited about somebody else coming in and putting a different spin on it. And I think whoever comes in here, too, they got a really good group of D linemen to work with. Now, the next year after that, you got to go recruit quite a few guys as well. So we've got to prepare for that. But there's certainly a lot of guys interested in that position, and now we just got to figure out, all right, what is, just like recruiting, right, what's the best fit, who's going to help us grow and develop as a staff. And a guy comes in here and only lasts 10 months. That's not really that's not anything that is a knock on that particular coach, or it's just the business. Opportunities come up, and I really appreciate Chad. And he left his mark and did a good job, and we'll pick up for the bowl game and make sure we're dialed in, and we'll figure out who that is later.
I know stuff can always change. Would you expect? Do you expect the rest of the staff to be back, or?
You ask me that every year.
Yeah,
you've asked me that ever since I've been here. So that's kind of the yearly question. I don't know. At this point, I think for me, over time, at first, you get a little salty about it. You want guys to be here, and it's like being a head coach. I want everybody to be a head coach now. I want them to have their opportunities and have a chance to be in this position. If guys change, There's going to be reasons why they do that. Sometimes it's professional, sometimes it's personal, whatever it is. And it's hard to control that. It's like players. Not everybody stays. We know that. If they do, then, at this point, we'll get somebody in here that would be excited about being a Bronco, would be excited about living in Boise, Idaho, and would come in here and do a good job. So things change. When they do, we'll adjust, and we have plans for that if it does happen. But I think the guys right now, we're all focused on this bowl game, and we have a team that we're about to play that has everybody's attention right now. So I believe the staff and everybody's focused on the task at hand and what we have to do. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Things change, and there's still movement in the NFL that's going to go on. There's just a lot of movement that's still happening. And if that happens to be one of our guys, then we adjust from there and we get somebody in here that will do a good job.
Where are you on the Andy Avalos contract status? And what's the priority there in terms of the timeline?
Yeah, well, all those guys, we still have to go back through and get all those things done, the contracts. This time of year, until we get really into the bowl game and probably beyond, that's where I've dealt with most of those things. So with all the staff, not just Andy, with everybody, kind of dealing with their contracts and things like that. And some of that has to do with, what we're able to do as well. So I've got to be able to work through some of those things. And, there's been challenges in those areas, not a lot of changes over the years. And so we've had to be very creative in how we do things, and makes it a lot easier when you have more resources and you can do certain things on contracts that you're able to compete with other programs. And when you're not able to do that, then it becomes more difficult. So we'll deal with those as we kind of get closer to the bowl game. We'll deal with that as we get most likely past the bowl game, and then go from there.
At this point, though, do you expect him back from everything that you
know? I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I do. I think he's, Andy's done a good job. I think a lot of guys on our staff done a good job. And again, our coordinators, when they do well, people are interested in them. So when that happens, if it's an opportunity that a guy has to take advantage of, or just feels like that's going to make his position, what he wants to do, better, then the guy's got to do what they got to do. So I hope all of our guys, we're able to keep them. I hope all of our guys, we're able to do things for them in the future. And we're working on that every year. Been doing that since I got here. And like I said, it's been a challenge. So hopefully that gets better. It's something that we've got to, it's a real thing that we got to deal with every single year. And we'll continue to deal with it this year. So, if guys come talking to our guys, then we got to find out ways to make this deal as good as we can be. But if guys are going to go, they're going to go.
With you look back at that initial staff that you put together, and how impressive was that?
The 9 guys?
Yeah, the 9 guys.
The 9 guys they put together. Yeah.
You have 2 of them have been head coaches, 3 of them have been or are coordinators. Huff's up at Washington, Caldwell's over at an SEC school. When you look back out, considering that was one of the first coaching staffs that you had to assemble in your coaching career, what do you take from that initial group?
Well, I think development. All those guys, they developed and got better. I think every one of those guys having a vision for the type of coach they wanted to be. They wanted to develop into coordinators. They wanted to develop into head coaches, and to be around guys like that, that's exactly what you want. And so I'm proud of that. I think we've brought good, talented coaches into our program. And like any place else, you have talent and guys have success, there's opportunities, and you just got to decide what that is. I was in that position too. So we'll keep bringing guys in, we'll develop guys. I think that's part of who we are. That's extremely important to me. And I'm proud for those guys, what they're able to do. I'm proud to be a part of it, and also to take what I've learned when I was an assistant coach and a coordinator from the coaches I worked for, and use that and apply it to coaches that come in here and are a part of this program. And I think a lot of that has to do, again, we talk about coaches, that has to do with our players. You're not successful as a coach unless your players are successful, right? It's a combination, and that's part of it. You guys, you coach them well, they play well, good things happen, and everybody likes a winner. And if guys are having success, there's obviously going to be opportunities. And, you know, like we're talking about, you know, with keeping guys and things like that, that's hard to control. And there's only certain things that we can do at this point to kind of make sure that we're able to keep guys and do the best we can for our coaches. But our players understand. They come here and coaches change. We got guys, and when coaches change, we talk to them, and they're like, hey, you told me in the meeting that coaches may change. That's not the reason to come here, and it did happen, but I'm not coming there for that. I'm coming there for the program. And I think our guys understand that. So a lot of it has to do with players too, and those guys that were here and coached for us and did really well and are having success, you know, that's an awesome opportunity for them. And we want to see them do well, because that's a part of Boise State they take with them. And I think a lot of those guys, when I talk to them, what they learned here or what they were a part of, just like when I was here and left and came back, you take a lot of what Boise State brings and develops you with to wherever you go. So I think we're all proud of that.
Have you discussed with Alexander what the plans are for him for next season, the NFL? Has he made a decision yet?
No, he hasn't, and I haven't sat down with him. I know Coach Marks has. I think he's, you know, kind of trying to figure out where he would fit. You know, you can do all that, right? Mm-hmm. Draft-wise, what would your status be? But no, he and I, and a little bit of time because of recruiting and things like that. But that's not something that he's really been pressing, at least to me. He's practiced in the couple practices that we had, and he's practiced well. So I think it's one of those, just kind of find out where he stands and then decide what you want to do. But he's all focused on the bowl game. All of our guys are too. I know, you know, if there's any question on any of our other players as far as what their status is, they've all been practicing, so I don't know whether they'd be practicing the way they are unless we're getting ready for a bowl game. And that's one thing that I believe with this team, and I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but you see a lot of guys that are sitting out games and things like that, and you know my opinion on it. I think Leighton, the reason why he was projected or put in the position he was last year, because of what he did against Oregon. He went out there and dominated that game, and everybody, so many highlights have come from that game. Everybody remembers that last game, that I think that's, and even for him too, propelled him to what he's doing right now. So draft-wise or NFL, things like that, that will all come up after the bowl game, maybe before, but when the bowl game is, that might be a talk right around that time. I know with Jay, we had the Fiesta Bowl, and it was later, so that happened before, and it was like, this was it, play the game, he's going to go. It worked out a little easier that way, but no, there hasn't been a lot of talk from that standpoint. If our guys come out early, and I believe this, our guys, if we believe it's the right opportunity, they listen. And I know there's a lot of outside influence that we can't control, agents, you guys talk to them, whatever. We don't talk to them. But there's a lot of information that way, and you know, we just try to help them make a sound decision. We care about these guys. We have from when they showed up here to even if they're having a chance to go live a dream and play in the NFL, we still want to be a part of that and give them our opinion. And I think our guys have been really good about listening to that, and I think we've been good about it's time to go or it's time to stay.
How many of the 15 practices are you guys going to use?
11 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 of them. And so we'll have basically an entire week here, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday type practice. We'll do our Bronco Bowl that we do every year, so we'll have that, hopefully over at Donna Larson Park. And then we'll cut the guys loose for 3 days, and we'll show back up on the 21st in Dallas. And what we did a couple years back, we practiced on a travel day. We won't do that this year. We'll have a team meeting, we'll have position meetings, we'll have a walkthrough, get everybody's mind back on, all right, this is what we're going to do tomorrow, this is what we got to do this week, and then we'll go practice. And I think our first practice is at SMU. So we'll be on the grass. Since it's a grass field, we'll go get that grass work unless the weather's bad and we can't do that.
Real quick question, follow-up on Madison. Did he turn in his official advisory committee paperwork, and has anybody else on this team done that as far as you know?
He has, as far as I know. What I was told, I didn't see it actually happen,
Sure.
but it should be in there, and nobody else that I know of right now.
Nobody else?
No, not that I'm aware of. Not that anybody's told me. Now, that's a question. I haven't seen these guys in a few days. We've been on the road recruiting, so I haven't seen them all, but none of that's been brought across my desk or anybody told me they've done that yet. If they have, it's news to me, and if they have, either way, kind of like I said, if they do, it's a matter of what do they come back with and what would be the right decision anyway.
Have you had a little bit more of a chance to look at Boston College and
a little bit?
Any thoughts on kind of the challenge you guys are facing there?
Well, and I've talked to several coaches too, and they all say the same thing. They are physical. These guys are out here to beat you up. That's what they, I mean, really when it comes down to it, to simplify it, that's what they do. They're physical on offense. They got that tailback. They're going to hand the ball to him, and they're going to roll. And they're going to try to pound it. They're going to do that in first and second down, third down. You know, they get into those situations not very often, third and long situations, but they do have tempo in what they do offensively. Defensively, they got they're really big, and they got a couple of defensive ends that are as good as we've seen. Number 2 and number 11. Number 2 gets a lot of the attention because he's a big dude that he doesn't move like a big dude. He moves like a skill player in this body, and he's got this savvy about him. Very impressive. And then number 11 on the other side, this guy's equally as good. Not as big, but he's got his own set of skills and very successful at what he does. And the secondary solid. You know, every one of those guys, there's some All-Americans in there. They're all very good. I think they've played pretty consistent, in my opinion, against some really good teams throughout the year. So we just kind of got into special teams today, watched them on special teams. Those guys, same way, physical, got their best players out there playing on special teams. Number 2 is on the punt team, and so it's important to them. So really it's just a tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar, physical football team that gets their best guys playing well, and you know, that's what we're in for right now. So I mean, if you go play with this team, you're gonna have to play a physical game and prepare yourself for that. From what I've seen so far.
With you mentioned recruiting and stuff like that. With it being now less than a week away, how have you noticed that this early signing period affect how recruiting goes? And also, I don't know if it's intentional. I think you guys got like 3 commits this week, and none of them are public. I don't know if maybe that's a little bit of
Just messing
gamesmanship.
with you?
Yeah, well, or messing with other teams.
We're just throwing out the fake commits.
No. I didn't
If
say
we were
fake.
doing that, I would do more of them.
That's true.
And they'd be like, they got 35 guys are signing right now. How are they doing that? No, what I can tell you now, let me just say this. You know we can't publicly say anything, but when we put things out there, it's consistent with what we believe is going to happen. If that changes, then I apologize. But that is consistent with what we believe, and the early signing has been, it's very beneficial once it's done. Everything leading up to it, it is a scramble. And we're not the only staff. I mean, and I know a lot of these coaches, these assistant coaches, and I know myself too, trying to get to 3 guys in a day. When you think about that, 3 guys in a day, and there were, 2 of them are different states. That becomes difficult. And when it's over, what happens is when you sign that class and you get the majority, now you're really on to the next class, right? So all that time in January, you go see guys and do home visits. And there'll be a couple guys I got to do some home visits after they sign, because it's just with bowl prep and our time in recruiting and the championship game, we missed that week too. You can't see them all. It's just you're not able to get to all those guys. So it's a scramble. This week is going to be a tough week because everybody's, we have guys committed to us. Everybody's now trying to figure out who's going to be committed to them or stay committed to them. Things are going to change, and it's just going to be this attack until we get to Wednesday at 7:01 a.m. and everybody from wherever they're at signs. So I think our coaches do a great job. We're very honest with our recruits. We tell them when they come in here, this is what to expect, this is what we expect, and I think that's a key ingredient for the type of relationships we build with our guys. Now, it doesn't mean that a guy wouldn't change and things like that. I hope they don't, and I think we've done a really good job from that standpoint, but you never know until they sign. You don't know until you get that piece of paper and everything's cleared from compliance that this is a done deal. Now, also what I learned last year too, we had a few guys we were going to sign in the second signing period, all right, and there were some really good ones. Brock Purdy was an example of that. He was a guy that we were on, not many people were on, we offered him, and then bang, this guy got offered by everybody, and he was the freshman of the year, right? Is that what he was?
He was Big 12 for sure.
I don't know about Puka Williams was, I think.
Oh, okay.
He was something.
Yeah.
He was something for him, right? Like he turned out to be a really good player.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of guys like that too. And you think about some of these walk-on guys at places. There'll be guys like that you find, and so Last year I was a little bit more stressed about the first signing period. I'm a little bit less, not that we don't want guys to sign, but if something happens, we'll find guys in the second signing period and they'll be successful too. It won't just be like the rest of the guys. These guys are pretty good that will still be in that second signing class.
I know you have to be generic. You can't mention names and stuff, but I mean, you have lost some quarterbacks in years past. Right before signing day last year, you were at the bowl. I guess it's an obvious question, but if you happen to have two quarterbacks committed or whatever, how important is that when you talk about hanging on to guys? Would it be to hang on to that position that you already have committed?
Well, all of them, that position in particular.
Yeah,
that's always one. Now, and I mean this, when you lose a guy at any position in the end of January or into February, that's when it was really bad, right? You lose it that late. Now, not that we want any of that to happen. Always losing a guy is never a fun experience because you put a lot of work into him. And at those positions, you're talking about over a year at least, those quarterback positions, 2 years a lot of the times. But if that happens, you have time and you can go find some of those guys like we were mentioning. We certainly don't want that to happen. But we know that the guys that we recruit, I think we do a good job evaluating. We get on these guys early, and sometimes that's like a validation that they can play, because we have an offer out to them and things like that, and all of a sudden things happen. There's some shenanigans that go on, at the end of recruiting. We got to do a good job, both with our relationships that we built and that trust factor with not just the players but their families and coaches. That becomes a big key to our success in recruiting.